Good day, Jamie Butler.
Good day, Elisa Medus. How are you?
Erik Medhus. How the hangin'?
Yes. Low and long.
Oh, God. Why? A mother doesn't really. Seriously, no. No, no. That's not an image I want to keep in my head for very long. Okay. Uh, Somebody wants me to ask you about the human ego. I'm not sure what questions to ask about it, but I'll let you take the floor and see what you have to share.
Straightens his collar. It looks like it's been pulled on, like it's not just like perfectly, you can tell like it's pickled in some areas.
Yeah.
Um, he's wearing jeans today. But he says the human ego is necessary for internal dialogue.
Oh, interesting.
He says, imagine if we didn't have the ego who knows how to identify self, then we would simply talk in terms of all, not I. So we would move from being naturally egocentric to geocentric.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the, what'd you say? A lot of the Asian cultures are geocentric and don't really have terms for I or self.
Really?
He says they will gesture to who they're talking about and what would be happening. And that's how one would know what's going on. And he says even in the States, in terms of giving direction, he said we always give direction based on individual viewpoint. Like you're going to go up this road and you're going to hang a right. And then you're going to see the store and you're going to hang a left and it's up there. Oh, he was driving you to a sex shop, by the way.
Cindy's.
It's the best filter there is. That's really should be my new title.
Oh, wow. Well, so when you crossed over in your new wonderful book, My Life After Death, you talk about how your perspective changed from egocentric to geocentric. And just so that the rest of the class knows, can you explain what that looks like?
Yeah, so the geocentric, he says that's when you're giving direction. He goes, you base it off of north, the directions, north, south, east, west. You just head north, and then you go east up here, and then you go north again. And he says in other cultures they understand that very clear. He goes, but when we talk in American terms, we don't have language like that. We're really individual oriented and not oriented by the greater map of Earth, the greater directional poles. And he says that didn't make sense. Do it again. When I decided to leave, he said it's not like I began to see myself for exactly being Erik and that I was in my room and that I was going to go out the door, down the stairs, out the front, out, and drive on the roads. It was more of a thinking about where you needed to be and you would arrive. And it wasn't measuring against I or myself. The measurement of identifying where you are in space and time wasn't, clinging to the me anymore. And he said it was really fucked up to think about that because you wanted to believe that you were losing yourself when you really weren't. It was more as if you truly understood exactly what you did belong to and you didn't lose yourself. You actually became more aware of yourself in being a part of all that is. Kitty.
Oh, it's Christina's dog. She just barks and then, okay. Hush up, guys. Okay, well, okay, let's use like the term, like you're in a park, right? And you would say, I'm sitting next to this oak tree. Instead of, the oak tree, or this oak tree is next to me. And a geocentric would be the oak tree is in the northwest corner of the park by a bench. Is that
or just east of the bench on the northwest side of the park.
All right.
Because then it has nothing to
like
do
that
with
at
me.
all. Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. Oh, so how important is the human ego for our human experience? And
It
why?
is important. It shouldn't be snuffed out. We shouldn't have rewards set in place for completely stepping away from being egocentric.
So it gives us that illusion of separation. That's right.
Yes,
Right.
and that's what internal thought is, the thought that you generate, the thought that you create, not the thoughts that you pick up from your environment or your intuitive skills or, necessarily your imagination either, because your imagination stretches so far beyond what you've designed your norm to be. That's why we call it imagination.
Yeah.
But those internal thoughts that you hand create and manifest, ego is needed to run that against.
What do you mean run it against?
Kind of like how you throw a basketball, you need the square in the back of the board.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, to aim the ball to measure to get it in the basket.
So the ego is important to bounce those thoughts off of? Is that what you're saying?
Right, he said if we didn't have the ego and we're trying to have a human experience, and he goes, inside of our human experience, we're emotional beings, and there's this whole pretend game of being separate, of being individual. And that's what creates passion, drive, our craving, our desire, our fight for life. If we had this ultimate understanding like you get when you're dead, that you're part of all, then your quality of how you protect life, how you guard life or harness it, would be completely different, because it's like going to an arcade game with 3 quarters in your pocket or going with $100 worth of quarters. You would tend to play more carelessly because you can just do that right again.
Yeah.
He goes, on my side where I am now, we can just do that shit again.
Yeah.
He goes, but we're not haphazard with it like that. He goes, I was just trying to use the example of the video games. But when we lose ego inside of our head, it kind of tears apart some integrity and morals that we need to play the game of, I'm separate than you, I'm an individual. It's part of the beauty of being human. This is why we do it again and again and again, Mom.
Well, so yeah, we're here to learn experientially, to have experiences through contrast. And I guess you can't have contrast if you don't have that separation. I mean, if you want to learn about forgiveness, you're going to need an actual separate individual to hurt you, to betray you, or whatever. Is that what?
Or to step on your toe.
Or step on my toe. I forgive you.
But he said, yeah. He goes, imagine when we think in spiritual terms, we have that title called higher self, higher consciousness, right? And higher consciousness kind of links to all the incarnations that we've decided to experience and create to have what we might call lessons or contracts. Call that fucking shit whatever you want. And he said, but when we look at each human life, you can consider your ego as kind of your human consciousness. We have your higher consciousness that's linked to all the lives that you live, and then every single life you have this other one that goes off to the side that's human consciousness.
Okay.
And that's ego kind of allowing you to pretend that there is this separatism and that you need to say the I and protect the I and have morals and integrities and protection and drive and passion. But when people focus on it too much, then we get into a sickness or a disease. We get into egocentric qualities, narcissism. He's saying some other things that I don't know what it is. They're he goes, oh, fuck it. Skip it, Jamie. I was like, okay.
We probably won't understand it anyway.
But it was all like variations of being narcissistic. It was like mental diseases that see self as completely separate, where they can't emotionally connect to somebody.
Like borderline personality disorder might be one of those. Yeah.
And he was going through several of them. And he goes, and that's just when you swing too far into, human consciousness, the ego, rather than the higher consciousness.
So you have to be sort of balanced. So what makes an unhealthy ego? What is it? The degree of separation is deeper, or I mean, what is that?
He says, what makes anything unhealthy? What makes food unhealthy? Poor choices, right? Not enough or too much.
Yeah, so too little ego is not necessarily a good thing either. That's true.
Right. He said, so when we're looking at it, it's knowing indeed that the I is making choices, but the I is part of a whole.
So that kind of balance is what's important.
Yes.
Okay. So would it be bad for us to become geocentric in this life? Isn't it good to sort of feel like you're connected, and to some degree with everything?
He said, I would like, well, geocentric as in the location of you and where you are. No, that's not bad. All the Asians do it. He goes, but if you mean stepping away from ego completely, is that bad?
Oh, yeah, no, I know that's bad.
Yeah, I would say yes. And he goes, and if you were looking for some more specific term and how to connect to the whole or to what we would call a geocentric environment, he goes, I would do that more with emotions.
Okay.
Rather than anything else. Not so much a visual thing, but an emotional thing.
So what would you tell those who have too little ego and those who have too large an ego to do? Let's start out with the big egos. The assholes.
Big egos? You said it.
No, I channeled it from you. I swear to God, that came out of nowhere. I know you put it in my head, so I'll blame you. Go ahead.
I would too. Anyways, the big ones, the assholes. No, the egocentrics. They can't see anybody else's emotional value, input, need as being supreme, better than. They put themselves in the ultimate lead in every situation, whether they belong there or not.
What can they do?
What can they do? He says therapy, sometimes medication. Commonly, explain that. No, let's talk about, okay. This is cool. The ones that kind of are born with it, like they have that, or whether, the parents teach them and they kind of go with it. Therapy.
God dang it, Gidget, stop it.
Therapy works best because then they can discuss it and they can really identify how to connect to somebody and that they're safe. By surrendering time to allow somebody else to talk and actually listen to them doesn't make them weaker or less value. So therapy, sometimes medication is needed so that they can step back because their head's so wound tight. He loves marijuana for this cause, but he said he would also attach that to some kind of therapy treatment to talk it out and learn. Narcissistic people love to learn. They love to be right. So it's an easy way to go. But this is the second layer of being narcissist. There's ones that know they're being narcissistic. They just know it. They're like identifying it. They're not like that all the time, though, not with every single person. They only do it with a few. And he goes, and these are people who lack the ability to put a boundary in place. And they use this narcissistic thing as a total tactic, as almost like a preservation or a protection thing. And he goes, and you can identify those because they'll flat out tell you, oh, I know this is so narcissistic, but, and they throw it out there anyways. And he goes, so that one's a little bit more easy to address because they already play both sides of the fence. They just need to recognize that there are easier ways to set a boundary and know that, hey, you've got the confidence and you have the right to say no to somebody instead of playing too big for your britches.
Okay. Then
you have the ones that disconnect. We can call them like super geocentric. It's not just about different directions. It's about believing that there really is no I, that they're totally a part of a whole, and that they have no power. So why should they vote? Or, why should they even make a difference? Because they're just along for this great big ride. And then all of a sudden they have a life that they have to manage and survive through rather than live, because they've completely surrendered any kind of choice or action because, hell, life is going to take it. Life, damn it, that was so
What?
good. Life is going to just take it from them and do it for them. He had this twang thing. It was funny.
Yeah, you started having that
I,
little
it was
southern drawl.
hey, it was a hail, and then he went right into it with the
Hmm.
twang. Um, he goes, not to say that Southern people do that more than Northern people. He just thought it was funny. And he says, what can happen here is working through having a voice, being confident, learning self-expression. So I would sit down and find out what brings the passion out of you. What are you really attracted to? What pulls at you? And then I would say, go fucking do that shit. Whether it's art or plants, it might not be something that you will identify changes the world, even though every fucking thing you do changes the world. But people don't like to believe that, right? They give power to the ones who are in control, that they're the ones who make the choices, but it's not necessarily true. Energy and power lies within all of us.
That's
Erik
true.
says, cocks his head. He feels very confident about that one. He goes, I am. There you go. That's a
Okay.
little ego dose for you.
There we go. You do have still a little bit of an ego. That's good. I mean, you can really have as much ego or as little ego as you want, right? You can create as a strong sense of separation, or you can meld with all that is, or anywhere in between by
Yes,
your
and he goes,
choice, right?
yes. And he says,
Okay.
when I have my Erik pants on, my Erik panty, my Erik panties.
You got your big boy Erik panties on today?
He's not a brief wearer.
No.
He's telling me that. Just
It's either boxers or probably commando if he hasn't done his laundry.
okay. But he said when he has his Erik panties on, he tries very strongly to keep his ego real healthy,
Yeah.
very involved. Because I believe in my position, Mom, that really speaks to the humanness of all of this. Because that's why we fucking do this. It's not super easy, one, to communicate to people. He says, because most of them are so fucking difficult. And he said, a lot of them believe they're very open. I'm so open. I'm open to anything. But right underneath the word open, they have expectation,
Yeah.
assumption. He says all these
Yes.
things that they want to have like fucking done, but oh no, they're open. He said, so it's not easy talking to people. And then to come in with the hard-hitting language, the bluntness, the kind of denser vibrational words, just to really just throw it down, like right in their fucking face.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, that's not easy either, but look at the fucking results. It's so much more fun for me. It's so much more tangible. And he said, and I see people walking away from it just going, I fucking identify with that guy. I know that guy,
That's
Erik.
true.
I can see his identity. I can see part of his ego. I can see what he's trying to teach and come from. But if I came in as like, holy fucking loving everyone.
Yeah, right.
Wow, he can really do that. I guess that takes a lot of practice. His fingers go back.
Wow.
He goes, I am dead. Yeah, I can't do
Yeah.
it. He said, then people would look at me and go, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice thing to strive for, but hey, buddy, we're living on Earth.
Yeah.
So, nice to watch that movie, but I'm not in it.
Yeah.
He
It's
goes,
not
I
like
won't.
he's not one of those, welcome, my dear one. Those ethereal, you know, guru on a mountaintop type entities.
He thinks it's very funny. Oh, he has a big fog in my room right now.
Wow.
What are you
What's
doing?
that? He's probably smoking.
Oh, no, he's not. I was like, are you smoking?
Okay,
No, he
that's
said
weird.
it's his energy.
Oh, okay.
It's a really pretty it's a fog. It makes
Oh, you're so
things that
pretty,
you're
Eric. You're so
looking
pretty.
past it kind of thing.
Yeah. But I guess and this is my last point before we go to the next topic, the next video is, I guess ego was also, in its most primitive form, important for survival, too, right? You have to
Right.
have an ego for survival.
Mm-hmm.
Say something about that?
He goes, I think you said that very well. Well, 'cause the ego helps you identify the I. I need, I'm hungry, I'm this, I'm that. That's
I
all
need to run
ego
away from
driven.
that tiger.
Yes.
I don't want to be eaten. Okay. Anything else on ego?
He said no.
Okay.
Ding!
Ding, ding. Bye, everybody.
Loves and flowers and rainbows and kisses to all. Everyone's so beautiful. He says, thank you for your open heart and your...
Put your Erik panties back on, please, for the love of God. All right, guys, stay for the messages at the end. Be sure you like and subscribe, whether you do or not, please. Talk at you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
¡Prepárate!